I'm back because I'm editing a video and I realized that I didn't speak enough to y'all. It's Isaiah Markel. Welcome back to my channel. We just wrapped up a drag series over with Winter Dior. The past two videos, I'm going to link them right there, but they're also going to be the thumbnails right there in front of my face, big on the screen so you can't miss them. I am really excited to be bringing you guys along this journey with me so you can see what's going on in the future, what we have going on, how life is. But while I'm doing that, I got some series that I already have backed up in my hard drive. I'm editing them, I'm working through them, and I wanted you all to get to see them. So I put out the Winter Dior series. That's gonna be it for that one. We only had 2 episodes. The first one was the drag show at La Luna, the breakfast brunch drag show at La Luna with Winter Dior, Heaven Ozempic, Ash Wednesday. It was so many wonderful, beautiful drag queens there. But then you also have the other side of that, which is going to be, this is more of a local interview in my own house, on my couch, right downstairs, with an exotic dancer, somebody who offers us some insight into the sex work conversation, because I'm working on another series that's going to be coming out later in the summer, probably sometime in August. So I really wanted to sit down with somebody who could explain to me the ins and outs, the culture, the language. I sat down with her, 2 of the people on my team, and we really had a wonderful conversation on sex workers, the industry, the sex industry. But something else that I really wanted to mention, I had to get off my chest, is I am back. I'm back doing content. Now, let me tell you, I'm not the fastest editor. I do everything on my own. I also have my real estate career. I'm doing a lot of things right now. So I'm not the best at getting things out on a weekly, twice a week, like blah, 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 baby. Yeah, that ain't me. I don't do that. That ain't how I roll. That ain't how I operate. I do things on my own time, and you know what I'm saying, man? I do things on my own time. You can't really stop it. You can't start it. I do it when I want to do it because I'm me. I'm a Pisces, man. Pisces do what they want when they want to do it, and we don't have to explain it because we're doing it how we want to do it. Do it like we do it, and maybe it wouldn't be so you. You'll be me. Bam. But I say all that to say, I'm really excited. So I'm gonna go finish editing this video, cut my hair, film another video for y'all that's gonna come out next week. But I really wanted to hop in and say, the interview is kind of jumbled. It wasn't really that cohesive and that coherent. I tried to cut it up as best as I can. So I'm gonna hop on. We didn't talk about much. It was really me understanding like how to talk to sex workers, how to talk to industry workers, how to be somebody that can be respectful and responsible with space and ideas and thoughts. How can you create safe spaces for safe conversations with sex workers? And I used an exotic dancer to really help formulate this idea because I'm a black gay man. I'm not a sex worker. I do real estate. I work in a corporate environment. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to ever go in nobody's environment and talk wrong, speak wrong, say the wrong things, act stupid, act dumb. So I had 2 of my homegirls that also work on my team come join me on set. I also had the wonderful Amari. She is an exotic dancer right outside of Chicago. It's something for me. It's new. It's different. I got a bunch of different conversations. Something about school. I got something about relationships. I got a little cute video with my boyfriend. It's a lot of stuff that you all are gonna see throughout this summer, and I'm really excited. So if you're excited, we can watch the video. If you want to watch the video, we can watch the video. So boom, that's how that's gonna go. Oh, another thing. This is the other completely separate thing. I do real estate. I want you to go subscribe to the channel. It's called Isaiah and Investing. Now, that's a very broad term. And if you want to know why, you got to go over there to the channel to figure out why. Why do I call it Isaiah and Investing? Go over to the channel, click subscribe, and then I'm going to post a video explaining why it's called Isaiah and Investing and explaining where I've been and what I've been doing over there on that channel. You can see my shorts, you can see all my reels. You can go to TikTok, check me out on TikTok, go to Twitter, check me out on Twitter, go to Facebook, check me out on Facebook, go to Instagram, check me out on Instagram. Go anywhere that you check people out and check me out. That's how we're going to get into it. That's the video. So yeah. What's one more thing? Well, let me tell y'all, it is another thing. Right now, I'm currently in the process of starting my own real estate journey. If you're somebody that likes real estate investing, go subscribe there. But then I also have a side channel. This channel is going to be mostly me getting my house together, me vlogging, me going to do typical day-to-day things. I've recently dedicated all my time into real estate, so I don't have much else going on. So I really want to focus on real estate, YouTube, real estate, and YouTube. It's going well. Real estate is going good, so now I gotta make YouTube go good. So what you need to do is like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really want to like boost engagement, like you don't know what to comment, but you want to boost engagement, I need you to go down to the comment section below and comment a heart. Do they got white hearts? Just do any heart. Any heart that got a color, comment that heart. And boom, that'll be our theme. So yeah. Pow. Take a break. Okay, so we're
This is my first time doing this, and thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. But like I was saying,
There's many categories of sex work.
yeah,
In the sex industry, there's different types of sex work. There's sex appeal, there's the physical act of sex, and then there's the simulation of sex, which
Exactly.
would be porn.
right.
true.
So yeah, I think that's what you're trying to
That's
say.
where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was going. And I was looking for, like she was saying, the sex appeal word, the three different categories that she explained.
Yeah,
And
it's
she explained
plethora
them
of them.
perfectly. Like, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never really heard, like, I've got a few smart people around me. Of course, I've met him, he's very intelligent. But, like, intelligent-wise, like, you explained it very, like, directly, like, is, like, exactly the words I was looking for. So, that's why I'm not gonna lie, I did say I did want her in here, because, like, we talked a little bit, and we kind of got, like, a
rapport, understanding
yeah,
between.
exactly. So that's why I did say I did want her like here. I even want her here. Your ear's probably better than mine, but I promise you I didn't hear. But let's go back to.
Yeah, she's a showrunner, so like she's running like
Without her,
she
none of this would
you know what I
happen.
mean. She's
Yeah.
the structure. You know what I mean, the glue.
Without her, none of this would happen. Don't
Yeah.
let me talk it.
But if she needed
Go back
food
in
break,
there.
she can have food break. But I mean, she can come back in. You know what I mean?
I
But right
definitely
now,
want her
that's
to
her food break.
because it's comfortable. You know, it definitely like I've been enlightened by these two. Like they got. That's why I was like, no, like I was so especially because like I don't even know them for real yet. But it's like me being in front of this. It's like a person having stage fright. You know what I'm saying? So like. And them being new to me, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm still, but she comforted me and she comforted me. So I'm like, okay, you know, these are them right now. I'm talking to them, basically, if that one was on me. But that's how I, was comfortable.
Yeah, and that's
And-
that's all. We want to get you comfortable.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it feel like we're interrogating
Oh,
you.
no. I
We're
don't
trying
feel
to
interrogated at all.
probe
Actually,
you or
I'm
anything.
Okay.
This-
Yeah.
we
No,
want
I
like a
like
conversation.
talking.
And by all means, I am not an expert on the sex industry. I know there's many more type of
It is. It definitely is a lot more.
there's a bunch of subcategories
It
under
definitely
it.
is.
Not all.
So something that I actually wanted to get back to talking with you about. Even I initially was confused, right? So I feel like when we first initially started talking about doing this interview, because we've kind of been talking about it for a little bit, even though not as professionally as in recent weeks, obviously. But like, when I've actually been sitting down and thinking about the different aspects of like, what does intimacy culture look like? What does sex culture look like? What does sex appeal look like? What does sex work look like? I don't even think that I was fully understanding what I was asking you. So I was like, when I was going into it, in my head, I'm like, I want to interview a sex worker. I want to interview a drug dealer. I want to interview a scammer. I want to interview people who live untraditional lives because they're not comfortable with the typical 9 to 5, and they found something that they like, that they enjoy. And I wanted to know for you, how would you differentiate what you do from sex work? Like if somebody came up and they called you a sex worker, you don't necessarily feel obligated to give them a response because they're just a normalized person. But in your head, what do you think is like that internal difference, the juxtaposition, I guess?
So first off, can I validate if somebody came up to me and asked me if I was a sex worker? I would ask them, what do you mean by it? Secondly, I would categorize myself as a exotic dancer, or some people call it a stripper, some people call them what they want to, depending on the person, where they came from, how they were raised, who they are now. It's different categories to each different person, because the person that's a lawyer, okay, they probably would say the same thing as stripper. The person that's someone who goes to church, they would consider the hoe. So there's different lifestyles and different categories people judge a exotic dancer off of, compared to a woman who decides that she wants to go to a bar one night and it's karaoke night, and she has a good time, and she might shake her ass a little bit, she might dance a little extra more than she normally does. Somebody who sees her outside where they don't see her in the club, it's more or less like, oh, this is how she is, this is how she's like so the difference between sex working and necessarily, what do you call it, exotic dancing, the difference is people who do sex work, they sell themselves for the money they make. As of with exotic dancing, they do sell themselves, but not sexually. Sexual appeal is how we give ourselves off and we make our money, but we don't necessarily contribute to sexual intercourse as a sex worker would. Considering my lifestyle and where I came from, I honestly don't think that I would be into it, but you never know how you could go through life. You never know what you can get yourself into. You never know. Sometimes you could be walking out the club and somebody could do anything to you. You just have to be careful with how you move, and well, kind of more or less, I don't think it would be I don't want to knock anybody who decides to sell themselves for whatever they feel like they're worth, but at the end of the day, we all have a story and we all have to do what we have to do to make ends meet. So that's just how I feel.
Okay. That feels like a pretty genuine and natural response, right? So it's almost as if like, that ain't me. So what I'm gonna say about it?
And I can't judge the next person for what they do, because I'm not saying I'm not no better, I'm not no worse, but I'm just as human as anybody else.
So let's get a bit more into Amari. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and how you got into selling sexual appeal?
Okay, so I actually got into selling appeal when I was about 19, 20, like working in the club. But I want to say, I think my first time ever seeing a actual exotic dancer would be when I turned 21.
Seeing one or being one?
Seeing one, but when I say like real, like, okay, working in a certain part of the Midwest, you don't see what you see in Atlanta, you don't see what you see in Phoenix, you don't see what you see, you don't see the same money, you don't see the same people. It's different, because okay, when I speak on that, I mean like, you have sometimes you go into a club and you have like really good genuine girls, you know, they're all about their money, they're like, you know, uplifting you, you got a good mom, a good this and that, you know, even sometimes it's the man of the house, okay? Because it just depends, you know, who owns the club. Because some women own clubs, and it's men. It's mostly men, but it's some women that own clubs too. And they, the women that own the clubs, they are a lot more helpful. But with the men, they're about their money. So back to the situation where I was telling you about going to different clubs and in Phoenix and everywhere going different. The difference from being in the Midwest part is that you have people that are more greedier. Women, I don't care what you want to say, men if you want to, as there being male strippers. There's women, there's all type of different, you know. So with that being said, you always are gonna have somebody who's on you because maybe you, just for saying since you took a client, and it's not taking it, but necessarily the client is coming more to you than them. How before you came, you know, they had a little set situation going on. Okay, the client may have like came to you, so you might have some backlash with that. So even with you going to a good club where you can have another person's client and they'll be okay with it because you know it's a different type of flow of money. Now see, that's the thing about it. Everything with certain people comes down to money. You have to be very careful who you run into in these clubs because you can run into the wrong person and you can really get yourself in something you don't want to get into. But I will say that's why you have to be careful with who you surround yourself with. And sex workers, people may think they're bad people. Strippers, they may think they're bad people. Sex workers and exotic dancers, you have a difference. Most of the time, the sex workers, they're cool, but sometimes they can be a little bit like catty. And then some of the strippers can be catty, just depending on where you're at. So that's why I said I like to be more or less out in more, like I said, Phoenix, Atlanta. You don't really get too much of that vibe depending on where you are. But being in the Midwest, it's like, it's a little bit less money. And like I said, it's around, when you go there, of course, we're all trying to, make our money. You know what I'm saying? So, you stepping on somebody else's neck, they're going to try and step on yours. So, you have to be careful with that industry. And for what you were saying, hopefully I answered that question for you.
So you definitely did answer that question. It's interesting looking at the differences because there's so many similarities that it's, I mean, for one, let's talk about how I would say majority of men, I don't want to throw a percentage because I was about to say 90%, but I don't know. Majority of men, and I'm not throwing women in this category either, they don't, like this conversation we're having about differentiating what we're talking about, not many people are having that conversation. They're like, if you shaking your ass, you working for sex.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's how people really think about it. And having this conversation with you is like, okay. But it's also really opening my eyes to like, okay, we're talking about you, right? Mm-hmm. You obviously have a clientele.
Correct.
How would you perceive, like, what are your thoughts on your clientele as above to your colleagues, right? Like, thinking about different, and I'm going to even throw sex workers into this category. Thinking about sex workers, thinking about people who sell sex appeal, thinking about people who sell intimacy. How do you think you view other people who are selling it versus the people who are buying it?
It depends. Like, okay, so I recently, and this is with the category of buying it. I recently, actually, I could touch on buying and selling with this one. So, okay, so allegedly, I heard that Ruby Rose she had a fan on OnlyFans that never seen her like in person, followed her to a specific location, and before he did that, only a month in should I say advance, or is that how I say it? Before, if I would say advance.
Yeah, I think.
Is that correct?
I think you're right.
Okay, so a month in advance, he sent her 60,000 plus another 30,000, and he had only subscribed to her he had only been subscribed to her OnlyFans for 1 month. So he found her in a store, like I said, and he like, hey, I'm the one that sent you this 90K, boo doo woo. So she gives him his number, never had sex with the man. So that's pertaining to she is on OnlyFans. She's on now. OnlyFans does consist of sexual content, but not everybody's OnlyFans is sexual content.
Right. Well, to interrupt you, I went to an art school. OnlyFans was originally for artists, people who wanted to sell their art individually. So I get and it's not a diss on sex workers at all.
Correct.
But when I look at it and it's like all sex work now, and people perceive it as all sex work, I'm like, hold on. I remember when my peers, they would be selling pictures and stuff that they painted for $9-10,
right,
making money to pay their way for school. Like, OnlyFans has not always been all about sex. Right. But more recently, I will say the conversation has been more sexually based. Sexually based is the perfect word for it, because this whole word sex and sexual and sexuality, for one, it's fucked up.
It is.
Because we looking at a spectrum.
Yes.
And we're deciding where people go based on that spectrum, based on what we decide,
correct,
not giving anybody else the ability to have their own insight. That's the first issue. But even when you look deeper into this problem, it's all based on assumptions. So you're not looking at an industry where, okay, so like with sex work, it's all, for the most part, out there in the open.
correct.
Like, in order for there to be sex work, there has to be an audience, there has to be buyers, there has to be sellers, there has to be people who are involved in it.
Exactly. To continue.
But what I don't think that we've ever fully addressed, and I kind of want some outside insight on this.
Okay.
Men in particular, did I use that right?
Yeah.
Men in particular have this obsession with intimacy.
Oh, validating. Me.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, finish.
This obsession with intimacy, I don't even think that it's fully based on, like, okay, right, a desire to have sex. While I think that is something that is, like, inherently natural, I don't think that it's, like, good or bad. Like, that desire for sex is there. That desire to pay for sex, I don't think is unnatural. I think it's natural. I think people...
Okay.
And I think in order for us to live in a world where, like, people have options, you have to have some people who pay for sex, because not everybody's going to get what they want when they want it.
Right.
So, but when I'm looking at this conversation of intimacy, selling appeal, to me, it almost sounds as if, like, it has nothing to do with the appealist, the sex appealist.
Okay.
So, like, there's this niche audience of men who are very interested, not in sex, but the proximity to sex that they can have with access. So, like, no, they don't necessarily need to be fucking every day, but the idea that I have enough money to have somebody in my back pocket, like...
So you mean like just to having access to
cause
being able to masturbate or have sexual power.
So if I could pay someone to be sucking my dick, fucking me, doing whatever I ask them to for this amount of money, and it's not even breaking my pockets, don't you think I'm going to do that? And some people could find a person that don't even do it for a penny. some people could just literally have somebody that's so infatuated with them, regardless of what they got going on in life. Regardless of, it's to the point where people get obsessed. People go into killing other people's wives, husbands. It comes to a point even where wives and husbands kill their own husband and wife because they're obsessed with somebody else's. And then guess what? They done fuck their life up. So it's like you said, it's the access of having all this shit that you can do with the power of money.
So what's your perception, not of people who sell sex appeal, but and we kind of hinted at this, but like the people who are buying it. When you're sitting down and, like I said, to me it's a completely different conversation than somebody who's just buying sex, right? Somebody who's coming to you because they are so out there. They're not receiving the attention that they need.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in a relationship.
So not even with a man that sits and watches porn all day, like buys porn. Is that the same difference, or?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So if we're looking at a man that buys porn, how closely intertwined with sex appeal or sex work is that? Because is that man buying intimacy? Or if he's sitting there masturbating to the porn, is he buying sex? Is he addicted to sex?
Yeah, that's when sex addiction
comes
you
in.
know.
Yes.
And mostly, these are people who do have sex addictions, who don't have access to
Just
whatever they want to,
exactly.
whenever they want to.
What do you think you would be doing if there wasn't a clientele? Like, let's say you woke up tomorrow and nobody was hitting you up, nobody wanted to talk to you, and it was just like, damn, what do I do today? What would that look like for you?
Honestly, I would probably just like, okay, today is the day I can relax, chill, lay back, say fuck today if I want to, or I can try and see if I can go somewhere where I can find clientele as a sex worker speaking. Or do you want me to speak as a exotic dancer?
That's up to you. What do you... Okay, so I guess that kind of creates a follow-up question for me. Do you see yourself, like, outside of sex work, outside of sex appeal, is there anything there that interests you? What would you be doing outside of that?
Outside of that, honestly, I would love to be either a pediatrician, or I would like to be a counselor.
Okay, those are very different.
I know.
How do you go from the realm of sex appeal to pediatrics?
I have a cousin who's deceased, of course. She lived for 13 years, but she got me into it, and it's a field where I'm comfortable, but I'm not necessarily comfortable with like EMT or like major surgeries, like doctor, like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with probably not even changing some masks, but I'm probably okay with helping, maybe like, I don't know, just patients in general, just doing like you go in, I don't know what it's called right now, but it's where you go in and you just like, you do the name, birthday, you do, just checking up to put the wristband on,
Right. Medical assistant? Is that
I
what
think
it is?
that's a medical assistant. Yeah. I just didn't want to be incorrect about it. So a medical assistant, basically. So, and I'm not good with trauma. So if you come out and you see 50 different females, out of all 50 of them females, 2 of them is the prettiest, but the other 47 is the sweetest, nicest, kindest, generous, and you may not get to talk to every last one of them.
Right.
But the 2 that's the finest could be the worst you ever get your life in the situation with. One could be a scammer, one could be a hoe.
I'm sorry.
One
You're so
could
serious.
be. I'm serious. You said for me to get into it, so I'm gonna get into it, and I'm trying to. So, you could be a scammer, you could be a hoe. You could be a prostitute. You could be a exotic dancer. You could be whatever you want to be. You could be a hood ass bitch that just throw up GD, Vice Lord, this, that, whatever you want to claim, like whatever.
Oh, we're not endorsing any games.
We're not into any games. It's a lot of games out there, and claim and rep your set if that's what you want to be. If you want to be a woman that decides to run the streets and shoot guns and tow pistols, do what you do, sweethearts, tell drugs, whatever.
Don't rep your set in the conversation. That will be deleted.
Oh no, I ain't no set rapper. I don't even rep.
No, I had to say that because YouTube would strike the channel. Talking about repping sets.
No, I have no gangs that I am in. I'm not a violent person.
Like
I do
these
have
niggas
family members,
in
but
Chicago talking
they're
shit.
different. It's a little bit. I don't know how to explain that. I am neutral. I know about that. If you know, you know. Neutral is neutral. But I know that in my time, I'm not threatening nobody.
Period.
But the hands still work.
But
when you work in the club, you have to keep something on you.
you be keeping it up. You got it on you right now?
I don't care if it's a taser, mace, or a gun. Ooh. Honey, you gotta keep something because you don't know what it be. Some people that be sitting outside waiting for you. You gotta keep something.
Have you ever had to use any of that recently or since you started?
No, not once because every time I go, I usually go with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when I first started, I mainly went with more or less I would consider family.
Right.
But I met them through my auntie because my auntie had a business where she hired the girl at one point, and then the girl kind of like met some of my friends without me even knowing they met, and she got into that, and then like once I seen her, I was like, well, bitch, why you didn't say nothing to me? She was like, I didn't know you. Well, fuck it. So then we just started going together, and ever since then, like I said, before her, I was going with my best friends, you know, people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you know, we had studio time, we had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Back. That was the interview. That was the interview with Amari, the exotic dancer, the sex worker industry personnel that gave me insight into the sex work industry and OnlyFans and porn and sex addiction. We talked about it all. It was amazing. If you really liked the video, I hope that you would take the time to please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. There. Boom. That is it, y'all. Goodbye. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget the little white hearts. If y'all gonna comment that down below, comment that down below. Do your thing, Chicken Wayne. You know how it go. Bow, bow. Text messages. Bow.